Hello everyone. Today we're going to make some lamb tagine. You don't need a tagine to make this. This is a Moroccan dish. One thing I like about it, it has some great spices in it. And it's not spicy, but it has things like cardamom and cinnamon, turmeric, all that good healthy stuff. And you can put any vegetables you want in this. But I was kind of limited because I guess the store shelves are, the produce area is a little lean. But let's go ahead and make this. My house is a mess, so we will muddle through. So bear with me here. Okay, I have my lamb is browned in a little bit of oil. You don't need much with lamb. And let me just say too, you can use any kind of meat, chicken, beef, whatever you want. You just have to brown it a little bit in some oil and add oil depending on fattiness of your meat. Lamb's pretty fatty and good, so I didn't add as much. Over here, I've chopped some garlic and onion, which I'm going to put in there and saute. I took it off the heat because it was way too loud. And I pulled out my spices. And this can vary from person to person, how it's made, what you put in it. It can all be different, and it's typically a winter dish because it is so good. But I'm kind of needing some comfort food right now. So we've got ground cinnamon, some cardamom, some cumin, turmeric, and black pepper. I've also opened a can of tomatoes. So I'm going to now saute the garlic and onion a bit and then add my spices. So it's kind of important to put your spices in and let them get a little heat on them in the oil, fry up. That'll make them way more fragrant, but you got to be careful. You don't want to burn it. So let's get that part started. We're going to saute this garlic and onion. We'll also be adding some grated ginger into this. You don't need to peel your ginger, and if you've watched any of my other videos, I use a lot of ginger, but I don't use it enough before it goes bad. So I just freeze it and basically plane off whatever amount I need with a grater. Sometimes I like a little bit more ginger flavor pronounced. So I use the larger cheese grater instead of this kind of micro plane. Oh, this smells so good. Once you make this a couple times, you'll get used to whatever flavors. Now I put about, 3/4 tablespoon of cumin, about half tablespoon of ground cinnamon, maybe a tablespoon of cumin because won't hurt you. And you go light on the cardamom. So I probably only put like a 1/4 teaspoon in that. So maybe a teaspoon max. Let's say half teaspoon. Let's go with that. Now I'm just going to add my tomatoes to this and let this simmer a bit. And I'm going to mix up, I like the better than bouillon, so I'm going to mix up a teaspoon of that and a cup of water. So I've added the chicken broth. I'm going to let that simmer for about 15 minutes. The first kind of real vegetable of any chunkiness will be a butternut squash. And I like to add butternut squash because it'll cook down and thicken the sauce. But here's the deal. I also like chunks of butternut squash. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to add half of this to the simmering meat for now, so that it will cook down and thicken up a bit. And you can use, I've never used frozen squash for this, so this is an experiment for me. I usually like fresh. We'll see what happens. So a great thing about this dish is that I found a tomato I need to use. So I'm going to chuck that in there. I really wanted yellow squash and zucchini, They didn't have any yellow squash. Mine in the garden's not ready yet. So I'm going to add this. The beauty of this is that the zucchini soaks up all that wonderful flavor of the juice. It's amazing. And I found a bag of carrots that needs to be used, just some matchsticks. So I'm going to throw that in there. It's a great way to empty your refrigerator with like mainly hard vegetables, some soft like the zucchini and yellow squash. But what you'll find is I like using the harder root vegetables like turnips, whole carrots, cut into chunks, and you can use sweet potatoes. So your fall harvest is a good time to cook this dish when you're trying to get rid of a lot of this. And if you're into canning, I'm sure you can can this very well. So my butternut squash is still cooking down. I'll probably let this go ahead and cook another 15 minutes before I add in these vegetables, because I don't want my zucchini to stay kind of plump. I don't want it to disintegrate into mush. So that will be the last thing I add for certain, along with more of the butternut squash. So stay tuned. Be back in a moment. Now I'm going to take a quick breakfast break while this stew is cooking. If you watch my community post, you know what this is. This is Egyptian moussaka with eggs, spinach on toast. I'm not doing the cheese today. It was good enough without it. So I'll save that goat cheese for another item. But we'll get back to the stew in a minute. Okay, I had my breakfast. Now I'm back. I just took the spoon and kind of checked to see how tender everything was. And it still needs a little cook time. My butternut squash is cooked down. And so it's thickened this, sorry about that, a little nicely. And then I'm going to add a little bit more water here and let this continue to cook a bit. Now, I have some surprise ingredients coming up, so you don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Okay, this is cooked down. It is spoon tender. Smells so good. I'm going to take these bones out. Now, you can cut around the meat. You can use bone legless lamb. You can use boneless leg of lamb for this and just cube it up. I like the flavor that bones and fat give, so I like cooking with them. I'm going to just remove those now. I'm going to add the other ingredients. All right, here we have it. Added the carrots, the zucchini, a can of chickpeas, and raisins. Again, this is one of those dishes that has all kinds of things you can add or omit. A lot of people like to put dried apricots in this dish. Also pine nuts, roasted pine nuts. You can add almonds for a little extra crunchy texture. So many options, so little time. But this is a great healthy meal. Lots of protein, lots of flavors. And it's just a bowl of goodness. How do you eat this? You can eat it over couscous. You can eat it over rice. I like it plain in a bowl. So you do what makes you happy. I'm going to add a little cayenne pepper to this also, because I like hot and sweet things. So just like Chris, hot and sweet. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's plated up. Here's a look at the final dish, and it smells amazing. And I know it'll taste equally great. So remember, you can make this with anything, and as your meat, and anything as your vegetable. Just don't want anything too... I like the harder vegetables. I think they just do well in this soup. So anyway, the other thing is, sometimes I'll use a can of Rotel to make it extra spicy. So I will see you later. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, share, all the good stuff. We'll see you later. Take care. Here's a look at the final dish, and it smells amazing. And I know it'll taste equally great. So remember, you can make this with anything, and as your meat, and anything as your vegetable. Just don't want anything too... I like the harder vegetables. I think they just do well in this soup. So anyway, the other thing is, sometimes I'll use a can of Rotel to make it extra spicy. So I will see you later. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, share, all the good stuff. We'll see you later. Take care.